It doesn't hurt us to give you a tattoo. Hello and welcome to episode 515 of Under the Color of MS. This is random comic review episode. Just a variety of different comics that I've read this week. Trying to get through the piles and piles and piles of back issues that I need to get caught up on. So I figured I'd do a YouTube video this week on it, just so you can get some visuals of it, since I tried to do the videos through Spotify, which went through Anchor and goes through Riverside FM for the video, and then they transfer everything over to Spotify and put the audio on Anchor. But unless you like it, send me responses to keep doing it. I think I'm done doing videos on my podcast platform through Anchor and Spotify, because when I first got it through Spotify, I thought it went smoother and sounded better. The first couple I did it was probably back in midsummer. And then they changed it over to running it all through Riverside FM. And I didn't like the audio sound at all. I don't know. I'll play with it, see if I can fix it, make it sound better. But until then, I'm going to leave the videos to YouTube, and I will stick with all audio podcast on Anchor. And then, of course, you can find it on all your podcasting platforms. Most of them carry it. Just look up Under the Color of MS for YouTube, for podcast platforms, all that stuff. I will keep everything under that name currently, or for good. As far as I'm concerned, I like keeping it all under that platform. But yeah, I have a little stack of comics today to talk about. We're going to start out talking about Archie and Friends, number 134. Not since the Beatles first landed in America has a rock band's trip to Manhattan caused such excitement. The Archies have touched down in the Big Apple for a gig in Central Park. Of course, when in the big city, be sure to partake of the big sights, and partake the group does. From the Plaza Royale Hotel to the swank shops at Central Park West and the world, or Central Park West, and the world famous Tavern on the Green, the band makes the most of their stay. They even meet famous New York celebrities like late night talk show host David Betterman, gossip columnist Liz Smythe, and real estate mogul Donald Stump. Best of all, their concert benefits the New York homeless shelter, Archie, rock and roll, and the greatest city on earth. Has there ever been a more perfect combination? Well, yeah, if you threw Josie and the Pussycats in there too. Gotta have an opening band. Yeah, this is fun, standard Archie comic. Lots of goofiness. They're getting to their gig, having some fun. Jughead's instantly got the munchies. Got to take care of that. They play around in Central Park, and I was gonna try and find. And there's David Betterman. It's a goofy tooth gap in there, playing off a late night host that you may know from the past. Trying to see. thinking that this is Liz Smythe. I don't know who she plays off of, and that name doesn't click with me. And then, of course, Donald Stump plays off a certain president you may know. And I can't find him in here at the moment. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. I like the Archie and Friends stories. They get nice and goofy when they're doing them. Huh. I can't find Donald Stump in here. Damn it. Oh well. Yeah, you can pick up the comic for yourself to find it. But Archie and Friends number 134. A lot of fun. I always like when they get the musical storylines together with the bands. Archie and the gang when they're playing their musical little team ups, and then of course Rosie and the Pussycats and stuff like that when they cross those over. All right, next up we got the Gothic Scrolls Dryven number 1. Dryven, discover the true origin of the vampire. This 3,000-year-old triangle begins in the ancient city of Babylon, then continues to modern-day Chicago. There is a millennia-old battle between good and evil. The Nephilim of ancient days must flee from the curses of Moses. These demonic beings must seek new refuge within the souls of mankind. But when one temptress goes too far, she unleashes a power that may destroy the legendary creature forever. Or creatures forever. But yeah, I gotta watch what I show on here because some of this gets pretty graphic, but we meet our Draven character, and then he goes into a deep storyline explaining the origin of the gods, the demons, the beasts, the wars, all that stuff goes into a big Christian heaven and hell type battle. And we go back to the days of the slaves of Anubis and stuff, and Draven ends up being this character here. He ends up being one of the slaves and being taken in and enslaved by one of the head demon mistresses. And this just so happens to be his origin story. And we learn more about the vampires, the original stories of the vampires, and we get to see Moses along the way. There's a lot of interesting lore that they play with in here. I like what they did with it. When I first started reading the book, I'm like, I ain't gonna get into this. And then when I realized it was a vampire story, it's like, well, no matter what, I gotta get into it because it's going into the wife's vampire collection. But they give you a nice guide in the back to all the different characters, beast, and everything. And then there's also some little send in comments from people, followers of the comic. But yeah, this was ended up better than I thought. It wasn't into it at first, but it gradually pulled me in, got me interested. And then we went a whole different route. We got cat hair stuck to everything. He was on me. Then I had to run upstairs. Now he's staying upstairs at the moment. I'm sure he'll show up halfway through the pod. All right. Stupid pop-up ads I can't get rid of. Next up, we got a flashback, The Incredible Hulk, #1. This has this was release date for this was 1997. Writers Peter David, pencilers Adam Kubert, inkers Mark Farmer, colorist Dan Brown, letters John Workman, and editors Bobby Chase. This is a fun, interesting story. Basically, apparently called Grave Matters. Landing in a graveyard en route to New York, Hulk meets Stan Lee. You got the Hulk in the cemetery. He meets Stan Lee digging a grave. It just happens to be that guy right there. It's a hippy dippy Stan Lee. He's got a Hulk bandana on. It's just such a fun, goofy parody of the character of Stan Lee in here. But Stan and an acting trope then begin acting out the story of Bruce Banner's dad. The story cuts between real-life flashbacks of the events and the trope, acting them out. The story begins with Bruce and General Ross meeting to discuss the development of the Gamma Bomb. When Bruce gets a phone call about his father, Brian Banner, being released from the institution he's been in since he murdered Bruce's mother, Rebecca Banner, and beat Bruce into lying for him to cover for him at the Institute. The doctors assure Bruce his father has changed, but Bruce refuses to believe them. Later, Brian is shown staring at a knife, and during the night, he approaches Bruce when some being pounds on the door, or begins when he approaches Bruce when some begin to pound on the door. That doesn't make sense. When someone begins to pound on the door is what I should say. Answering the door, Bruce greets General Ross, who refuses to even look at Brian as he knows what he did and doesn't trust him. He berates Bruce for allowing his father to stay with him for what he did and leaves. A few days pass, and Bruce begins noting his father acting odd and tells him he should sign himself into the Institute. On the eve of Rebecca's death, Brian begins yelling at Bruce and proclaims it's the evil within Bruce that's causing it as Bruce leaves to visit her grave. And just yada, yada, yada. But this is really interesting. You get a hippy dippy Stan Lee in here. You get the Bruce family, kind of like a Bruce family origin. A look back at different characters, kind of the idiot General Ross that, that basically torments Bruce throughout his life, and basically Thunderbolt Ross. And yeah, it's it's fun seeing these different characters and getting a little history about all that. And Stan Lee doing the whole storyline as a character himself. That was a lot of fun. I like when they do those little twists and turns. Yeah, this is definitely an enjoyable book. I'm glad I picked it up. Not sure where I picked it up. It's in one of my bargain bin sleeves with the dot on it, so I think I picked it up at one of the local comic shop deals or a comic shop show, but not positive. But next up, we jump over from Marvel to DC. And I don't think I said any Archie and Friends. That's obviously done by Archie Comics and Dan Parent. Hal Lifson did the script. Inks were Rich Kozlowski, letters by Jack Morelli, colors by Glenn Whitmore. And then the Gothic Scrolls, the Dryven one, was illustrated by David Hernandez, colors by Rich Ponder and Eric Needle, and letters by Shannon Heinlein and Frank Salvato II. Although don't recognize those names. Still fun and interesting book. And then we go over to Final Crisis Aftermath Inc. We have number 1 to 5 of 6, of course. I'm missing the damn last one. I'm going to have to pick that one up somewhere. I did find it online for a couple bucks. But in this collection of the 6-issue miniseries, the tattooed man is considered a hero for the first time in his life. At first, it's a welcome change, but things go from bad to worse when he finds his body covered in unfamiliar tattoos, lives of their own. I always wanted to do a tattooed man style concept storyline. I like what they did in here, but I would have done it a little different, changed it up some. And if you're going to call something ink, I would expand it out and make the ink the actual focus. And so that way multiple characters would have the tattoo ink that was used on their body that comes to life and does things. But the way they did it, and he went through a tortured event where characters tattooed him with some special inks that gave him demons that he could control, tattoos that he control. And when it starts out with him in a bank and the bank gets robbed, and some characters see him and think that he's robbing the bank because he's from the same hood, and they know he's been in trouble for certain things. And it takes a little twist, and he takes care of the villains at the bank, and then we find out when he's talking to his wife and stuff that he is a member of the Justice League. He has a little Justice League card, and he's telling her we're set now, we get a paycheck for doing good, and he's trying to better his life and all this, and she's just constantly against him. I don't understand that philosophy. I don't understand relationships of people that can't stand each other. It's like it's just they have their problems. They get together. They get married. They have their problem. I've seen so many that were together and broke up, together and broke up. They kept getting back together, and then eventually they get married. And then I'm not saying that's what this couple did, but I've seen couples that went through that over and over. Then they get married, then they have problems in their relationship, then they decide to have kids, then they have more problems in their relationship because of money issues and all that, everything with the children and all that, and then they end up divorcing or whatever, and it's like then you got kids that are affected by it all. And it's so stupid. It's like, well, why are you even together? It's like I just can't understand why people are in certain relationships, but hey, to each his own. And it was their choice. They did it, but these two do not seem happy together at all. I mean, my wife and I could run the Colorado Hotel like The Shining, and we'd be perfectly fine. So, and it's just we'd have fun with the ghost. But yeah, this cop character, of course, yeah, black characters. So we're gonna have the whole racist lines in here, and that's gonna go into it. They have a black son and daughter, and of course the son's into gang banging. He's out uh, trying to become part of a gang so he can be somebody. And, and of course, with being part of a gang, you have issues with you gotta do certain things, which usually are some high crime related event. Uh, we get that gets him in trouble, which gets his dad in trouble, which gets his family in trouble, and racist cops and all that. We get a couple other characters that come in to try and attack our hero of the story. Of course, I can't find a good picture of him, but there's one of them there. There's him using one of his tattoos again. And he just so happens to have a couple. One's not going to give me a good showing of it, but a couple of his tattoos kind of go off on their own and take things into their own hands. Uh, which is interesting how they go at it and what their mentality is by being tattoos that can run off on their own. There's another shot of the characters that are after them, fighting against them, trying to figure out what's going on with the whole story behind certain murders and events that happen throughout this thing. His skull, dragon skull or bat skull, uh, which is one of his main transforming tattoos that he uses for quite a few special things along the way. But yeah, it just you got the racist cops that are after him and his family. You got they want to shut him down, even though he's part of the Justice League. You don't have the Justice League really coming in to help the guy out or figure out what's going on. You do have the Justice League kind of come in to take away his card and shut him down. But like everything, I mean, they hear what's going on and they judge things without getting all the details, and of course that causes problems along the way. And it just, I don't know, it was a well done story. I hate all the anger and racial issues that have to go throughout these storylines. I wish they'd just focus on the character. But like I said, I would have made this. I would have just gave it the character's name, stuck with that, and focused on that character, and then gave him some more Justice League background, and maybe started with issue 1 with just a little synopsis of how he got into the Justice League. I mean, who knows? Maybe number 6 gets a little deeper. Uh, Example of him getting tattooed in the beginning by the entities that uh, took over and made him what he is today. Uh, there's a picture of him with his brother. His brother's character, that one of the characters that gets stabbed to death in the beginning, but somehow comes back in the end. So yeah, gotta see what's up with that. But this is done. Writer was Eric Wallace. Fabrizio Florentino was the artist. Michael DeMotta was colors. Pat Brasseau was lettering. Brian Steelfreeze did the cover. Simone Martor was the assistant editor. Ian Sattler and Rex Ogle were the other editors. But yeah, I'll get the 6th issue and maybe talk how I thought about the ending of it. But I liked it. I just could have dealt without the family feuds and racial history and backstory and all that stuff. I just wish it would have focused more on the actual character. I mean, you're part of the Justice League now. Get the hell out of the slums. And if that's going to be problems for your family and your family's being torn apart because of it, get them the hell out of there and then go back as your superhero self and fix that area up. Clean it up. But get your family out of there first so you don't have to deal with their issues that are going to be brought upon you and going to affect you doing your superhero thing. I think it would just be smarter just to get out of there, be by the Justice League, and then go back home and focus on cleaning it up. Get those slums up to date. Get those gang bangers out of there. Wipe out all the gangs. That's a thing I never understood either. It's like you got superheroes. They can deal with characters that are bigger than the planets, characters that have unlimited powers, characters that are aliens, and all kinds of, I mean, mass groups of aliens and stuff like that. They can deal with all that, but they can't deal with a couple gangbangers in the hood. I mean, come on. That's just sheer stupidity. I mean, between the gangbangers in the hood and the racist, corrupt cops, I mean, you couldn't just take him and maybe a couple other Justice League members and just clean it all up. It makes no sense. I mean, you have characters that can foresee things. You got characters that can see through walls. You got characters that can read minds. I mean, you have all the evidence you need to just collect, imprison, and be done with all these jackasses. Instead, it rips families apart and rips the character apart and ruins everything for them and their family. It's just They may have superpowers, but they're not super smart. So many superheroes. Very dumb. When you get really sit down, look at it, and think about it, they do not use their powers the way they should. And that's the problem that I have with so many fucking superheroes and supervillains. It's like, I know character representation wasn't huge back in the day, but there were characters of all different races, ethnicities, and beings out there. It seems like every one of them focused on the same storylines. Every one of them, almost every one of them, cannot even be mentioned, told about, talked about to this day by anybody of any of those ethnicities, but yet they say they have no representation in the past. But I think a big part of that is because they didn't support them in the past. Because just because right now people are into it and supporting these type of characters and stuff doesn't mean there weren't characters in the past that were great. There were a lot of fun characters in the past that I remember reading as a child. I loved. I had no problems with a variety of different ethnicities. There were some that I did have problems with the way they were represented by people that weren't of those ethnicities that didn't do it right. And there were things that you could tell that were done very wrong. But yeah, I truly believe my whole life I've always enjoyed a lot of variety of people and characters out there, and I just don't think they got the representation that they deserved. And that's because people didn't support them. That's the problem. If you don't support something while it's happening, stick with it, it's going to get forgotten. It's going to get left behind. And I truly believe you got to put that effort in to support stuff if you want that representation to reach a certain level, to get the importance that it needs, to get the outreach that it needs, to get to the people that it needs to get to. But you have to support it to get it there. And you just can't pick and choose certain things and just support them and constantly go back to them while you're not representing others that were just as important back in the day, but nobody knows their name. Nobody knows their face because it's not out there. But if you actually search, research, and look, you'll find a lot of great people that you know nothing about. So it's like, you gotta stick with it. You can't get lazy about things and fall off. Either stick to your beliefs or and support everybody that's trying to get the word out about things. But yeah, it's it's all in the representation and how well it's done. It's the only way anybody cares. You gotta be a video star. Make it anywhere. Just like podcasting, videos, all that stuff. You can be a nobody and make one little thing that someone catches and it can go viral. You'll be famous, or you can spend hundreds of hours trying to get things out there for people to enjoy, and nobody ever sees them because there's way too many people putting stuff out and not enough people listening. So, yeah, not my place. I'll just end up saying something wrong in the long run, probably. That's how it usually goes. But that's how I feel. I feel we need people, instead of worrying about more and more new representation, I think we should look back at the past a little bit. See what representation no one ever really paid attention to. And I see so many great artists and writers nowadays, and I'm trying to pick up what I can when I go to cons, and from local artists and writers and stuff like that, and try and represent them and get the word out for their stuff if it's good. I don't have the voice to really get the things out there. I try my best putting the stuff out, but I don't know how to control social media and get people to follow stuff. So I just get my few people that do see things. But yeah, it's a lot of great things out there. And now, this day and age, everything's getting buried because there is way too much shit out there now. So I truly believe we need to go back to the days when you focused on good stuff that was actually worth putting out there, and get rid of some of the shit that does not need to be out there. But that's just me. All right, let's do the final one. All right, we got Transformers, Morden Meets the Eye, and Ghostbusters. Transformers Ghostbusters by IDW. I only have issues number 3 to 5. So I got the end story, but I don't have the beginning story. So I don't think I needed the first 2 issues. I understood what was going. Sorry, the phone's too far away from me. I gotta get that thing out of here. I'm gonna put that thing upstairs so it's not even here anymore. Just get rid of it. Uh, but we checked out Transformers Ghostbusters, number 3, 4, and 5 of the 5-issue run. It is a 5-issue crossover comic miniseries from IDW Publishing, which ran from June to October 2019. The series is a crossover between the Transformers and the Ghostbusters, released in celebration of both franchises' 35th anniversary, which was a wonderful anniversary. They did a good variety of different characters that they did crossovers with, and then some. They did the animated Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters, and a variety of different Ghostbuster one shots for the 35th anniversary. I got most, if not all of them, and talked about those already in the past. The single issues. Sorry, I had a burp attack hit me. But yeah, this ran from the IDW's ongoing Ghostbusters continuity. I can't say words today. Which ran from 2009 to 2020. Basically, the overview of this is, after millions of years of civil war, the Autobots flee Cybertron, only for Gozer to arrive and destroy both the planet and the Decepticons, occupying it. Occupying it. 1,000 years later, Autobot scientist Ectronimus Diamatron detects a Cybertronian distress signal coming from Earth and is sent by Optimus Prime to investigate. His search leads him to New York City and into an unlikely alliance with the Ghostbusters. against an impending threat to the planet. This is done written by Eric Burnham, art by Dan Schoening, colors by Luis Antonio Delgado, letters by Tom B. Long, assistant editor Megan Brown, and other editors David Mariette and Tom Waltz. Well done. Basically, you get Ectronimus, who ends up getting a new name in here. Yet Decepticon Ghost that appear, and of course you get Peter Venkman. It's just a big old goofball as usual in all the storylines and movies. Optimus Prime does come to Earth to help to see what's going on with everything. It's fun because they also deal with other ghosts and entities throughout this storyline. Optimus Prime, when he first comes to Earth, just happens to be hanging out trying to uh, keep from being seen, and has to just so happens to get tagged by some spray painters, and then has to change his look a little bit to try and fit in more. And he ends up learning some fun speak issues, and plays around with some taglines and stuff in here. But yeah, it's fun watching. Well, they're dealing with other ghosts, and they're dealing with Transformer style ghosts. And it was fun seeing what they did with that, how they made the Transformers into ghosts, and how they played that storyline out. I think it was well done. I actually enjoyed it. I didn't think I would. I'm not huge on Transformers anymore. I enjoyed them when I was a kid. Had a bunch of Transformers toys, played with them while I watched Transformers cartoons and stuff. Back in the days of G.I. Joe, Transformers, all those we'd watch. I'd watch. I was eating my cereal in my blanket fort back in the good old days when you had to watch TV when it was on. You couldn't sit there and choose what you wanted to watch whenever you wanted to watch it. You had to wake up at 6 in the morning, get your cereal made, 5:30 in the morning, get your cereal made, get your blanket fort set up, and get all your fun things, your art pads, your toys, whatever you needed. Get them all set up so by 6 a.m. or whatever time you were watching things, your shows started, and you got to see them. And during the week, it was like start out really early in the morning with like the regular TV series of Lone Ranger, Combat, uh, shows like that. I'd watch early in the morning, or on Sundays mornings really early. And then during the week, it would turn into Woody Woodpecker show and all those. On the weekends, I'd have Laugh Olympics, Captain Caveman, and stuff like that. Uh, you had what's the Crofts show with the weird dressed up characters. Uh, that also had the little side shows like Land of the Lost, which was fun with the Slee Stacks. Uh, I can't think of all of them, but there was a huge variety of shows back then that I'd watch early in the morning, and then the good comics would start about 7, 8 in the morning. The good cartoons would start and shows. Uh, but yeah, that's how we grew up. We didn't have it made where you got your own phone, your own screen. You can watch wherever. We all had to watch the same damn thing everybody was watching because there was only one TV. No way to TiVo anything or record something for later. You didn't have VCRs back then. Which I don't even know what those are. I don't even know what DVDs are anymore. It's so sad. Uh, and you ever hear of a beta? I had a bunch of beta tapes. I love the beta tapes. I preferred beta over VHS because they were smaller, but they didn't hold as much footage on them, so they didn't last. And VHS won out that battle, and then DVDs came, and that took over the VHS. Before VHS and beta, we had 8mm, and just an old roll spool with the film on it. Have to unroll the spool a little bit, the tape through the machine, get it all set up, turn it on. Sometimes the machine would eat the tape, burn through it or whatever, and you'd have to fix that, and cut and tape and refix it, and then you'd have a gap in the movie or to show because you'd have a piece that was missing from it. Yeah. Appreciate what you got now and nowadays, boys and girls, because you have no idea what it was like back in the day, and I don't think any of you could handle it. Go insane. But yet, I miss those days. And let's go back to good shows, good television. Get rid of all the excess crap so you don't have to try and watch millions of hours of shit that's mindless drool that you're gonna wish you never watched in the first place and you would have watched something else. But yeah, that's it for today. Nice little stack. Longer than I thought again. That's because I keep ranting and talking and jabbering. But yeah, we'll get back to you again soon. Like I said, stick with videos on YouTube if you want to see videos. If you want audio, get it on your podcasting platforms. The YouTube videos won't be transferred to audio. Not at the moment, but I do have my Zoom account now, and I may play with that. And if I like the video on there, I can split video and audio, and then I can send the audio to the audio platforms. And I don't know. I'm gonna have to play around. Maybe I can send video that's not through Riverside to Spotify. I don't know. Technology, it's a pain in the ass. There's so much shit out there nowadays. It was way simpler back in the day. But cat hair. I will try and get more things out this week. We are doing some revamping again of our environment and trying to get caught up on rearranging some comics and stuff and moving some stuff around. So it'll be iffy how much stuff I will get out this week. But we will see. Other than that, keep following Under the Cull of MS, audio, video, YouTube, podcast, whatever. Crimson Cull Comic Club. We got another comic book artist coming up in a few weeks, like 2-3 weeks. We had Matt Fife on for Happy Astronaut a couple episodes back. Check that out if you haven't. Under the Cull, old audio video episodes of that you can find, including my famous colonoscopy episode. Uh, AB Conversation. I'm always waiting for them to pop up with another surprise episode here and there, but still fun to go back and listen to those if you can. Then CrimsonColor.com, we have a couple members that are doing comics on there now, and I have an idea. Well, I have a few kind of written out and sketched out that I wouldn't mind putting one or two together, but we'll see. I don't have time for it right now. The things I'm trying to do at the moment, I don't have the time for. So it's like time goes too damn fast. So try and get what I can done. That's the best I can do. So that's it for today, boys and girls. Have fun. Be good to yourself. Kick shit out of a monster. Whatever. Be good to yourself. Be good to everybody else. Get along. Quit arguing. Quit bitching. Be happy for once. Life's fucking short. Get used to it. You have no idea what's going to happen around the corner. You can be perfectly healthy, perfectly fine. Next thing you know, something goes wrong, and life goes by before a flash, before a blink of the eye. So, be good. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye.